kneel before no one.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Box Office Quarterbacks. It's me, Gerald, with my friend Jeff. Jeff, we're here to talk today about one of my new favorite DCEU movies, honestly. It's going to be a spoiler version, so spoilers all over this. If you haven't seen our spoiler-free version, go back and watch it. We posted it last week. I think it's the second to latest episode because we had a Harley Quinn one before. Watch that one too. But make sure you watch the spoiler-free first if you haven't seen the movie. If you have seen the movie, welcome in. What the hell? This actually is one of my favorite DCEU movies. Jeff, I really haven't gotten to talk to you since you've seen it. What are your thoughts?
I was wrong. I was completely wrong about this movie. I talked crap about it for about a year, and Gerald saw it first and said it was good, and I took his word for it. I was waiting for it to come out on HBO Max, but here I am. And
Yeah,
it far exceeded my expectations.
yeah.
Black Adam is what we're
So,
talking about, by the way.
yeah, of course, that movie is Black Adam again. A movie that, when it first dropped, critics, like not even before it dropped, so, reviews came out, were the review, what was it? What's it called? I'm blanking on the word, Jeff.
Initial
This is why you know it's
reactions.
an unscripted podcast. No,
Yes.
the review embargo was lifted 24 hours before the movie actually dropped for the general public to see. Um, and critics hated this movie. They said it was half baked. They said there were no good. There was really not a lot of good stuff in it. They said it was just fight, 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 fight. Um, and they said some of the heroes were knockoffs of heroes from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Um, it just was altogether trash, is what they were saying. 39% scores what Rotten Tomatoes had gathered, which I know Jeff and I, it's an inside joke for us, that we don't really trust Rotten Tomatoes that much, which is why I had to go see it myself. And within 24 hours of that movie already being out, was already 90% by the public, by the viewers. So the audience score was clearly there. Um, and I think we should just go ahead and jump right into some of our favorite parts about this movie. And I think the action is by far the first thing, because one thing the critics did get right is there is a lot of action scenes in this movie, but each one of them is beautiful and cool and some shit that we just haven't seen in the DCEU, quite frankly.
Yeah, the action scenes definitely, they are what the critics were saying, and they're not. So it is nonstop action. You don't really get a break in between, but all the action sequences involving The Rock and especially the JSA, who are my favorite parts, are so good and very creative. I wasn't expecting that at all. I love the Dr. Fate stuff. I loved uh, the scenes between Dr. Fate and Hawkman. I think that's my favorite part of this movie. I would really like to see a prequel featuring those two characters because it's established that they do have a past together. Just Aldous Hodge as Hawkman and Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate are better than a lot of DC characters that came before him. I'll just say that.
Yeah, and to be fair, like that is actually a trend I have been enjoying out of DC lately with certain casting decisions they've made. I mean, I'm looking specifically at John Cena and Peacemaker. That was one that I was unsure about, and it kicked ass. Obviously, DC's actually had a lot of good castings, Henry Cavill, but like it has been a while since like we've seen spot on like this. I think like they embody
Yeah.
the character, and they had that they did have that chemistry that you wanted to see more of. Um, and the way I really enjoyed seeing Doctor Fate on live. I mean, like I love Doctor Fate. The only Doctor Fate I've been ever exposed to though is the DC extended animated universe Doctor Fate. She's in a lot of the projects, but it's just not someone that I know his full backstory on. But at the same time, like I did have fun with him. It was great to see him on there. I want to talk about the big name, the one that everybody was talking about, the reason you didn't want to go see this movie originally, The Rock.
I mean, I like The Rock. I just don't like how he constantly has to hype things up. That's
Mhm.
my gripe with him, where he's like, "This is unlike any DC movie you've ever seen, and the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change." I'm like, "All right, calm the fuck down." It is Black Adam. It's not Superman.
Yeah.
He's probably a top 3 DC character now, though, I would say after Wonder Woman and Henry Cavill is Superman, I would say I put Black Adam number 3 because we don't know what's going on with Ben Affleck, and I think Aquaman is still a stupid character depending on who plays him. Jason Momoa is a cool guy, but the character is dumb. But he surprised me. I honestly think this might be The Rock's best movie, and I know the bar is not that high because all his movies seem the same. The
Yeah,
Scorpion King, Rampage was the other one, Skyscraper. They're
yeah.
all very generic. But
Jumanji,
this one, oh, Jumanji. Jumanji is his
Tooth
best
Fairy.
movie. Jumanji is his best movie, Gerald. But this is
Jumanji is
his
a good
second
movie.
best movie.
Jumanji is a good movie. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie to that. But I mean, like that. But I think Jumanji, in a little bit off beat here, but like that one works specifically because it just embraced what The Rock's typecast is. Like The Rock knew he was typecast. Everybody knew he was typecast. Everybody knew how it was written for him, and they just embraced it with him. I mean, but it was still good. But yeah, back to Black Adam. Um, I was a little worried that we were gonna get a bad version of The Rock, a Rock that was just a little too much. Says those stupid jokes about his muscles. I was worried that we were gonna get like some really smart, like like the mother, for instance. I was worried like it was gonna become a whole thing where she was like fawning, like just like in love with how big he was and everything. Because The Rock will get that. Like The Rock is one of those actors where it happens sometimes. Like, that shit gets put into his movies. Where
Yeah,
like
I
women or people just love
100%
it.
thought the mom. I 100% thought the
Yeah,
mom and him were going to be a thing.
yeah, but it didn't appear so. At least not that I recall.
No.
So that's what, and like they didn't just resort her or like other characters into being like amazed by how big he is. Because I mean, it's a world with superheroes, like of course. Um, but also like it just he wasn't cheesy to me, and his
Yeah.
character has some depth that his character in a lot of movies doesn't always get. And I think The Rock, I'm not saying he had an amazing performance, but I think he showed that he has more acting chops than we probably thought he did.
Well, I like that it was darker than I expected because
Hmm.
you have Black Adam just straight up killing people in
Hmm.
some pretty crazy ass ways too. The way he takes them out, especially the main villain, which is my one gripe of the movie. Uh, I forget his name, the devil guy. What's his name?
Yeah,
Something with an S. But that
um,
guy, that was my only main gripe. But he rips that guy's face in half, and it is pretty fucking cool to see on screen. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, it was pretty cool. Sabak, I think, or Sabik,
Yeah,
Sabak.
that's it. That's it.
Um,
Yeah.
but I just like that. That is that DC did fall into its have a bad villain trap. I think in this one, but I think it I don't know, man. I think maybe it was just like the fact that we didn't really see the villain and know who it was until the last like scene, the last like
Yeah.
because it felt like it was added on, honestly, because like they had finally like they had gotten Black Adam to like agree to go. Everybody was going home. It was done. It was over with. He had quit, and and then it just happened. That's my complaint for this movie is like how they went about doing the villain thing.
You
I
know what it
get
reminded me
why it
of?
needed to. What did it remind you of?
Kong versus Godzilla. Because you have Kong and Godzilla fighting, which is the JSA and Black Adam, but then you
Mhm.
have the other real threat, which is Mecha Godzilla and Sabak. So it was like the same kind of plot if you
I
think
see.
about it.
I see what you mean. Yeah. And then like the another thing with this movie, and I don't really blame the movie for this. I think the movie did a pretty good job of world building. Actually, a great job. It just leaves so many questions. What universe is this in? How does it work? Um, because Batman, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in Batman vs Superman, when he's looking at the Flash, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman on this computer screen, it's as if it's the first time he's ever heard of anything because it's all like top secret meta human stuff. Like the first time he sees those words, there, and then they talk about again later. It's like people started getting powers, so it's newer, right? But
Yeah.
they're acting like the age of superheroes. This is the start of it, but the JSA has existed for years,
Yeah. I didn't get
and
that
Doctor
because
Fate has been
Doctor
working for 100 years.
and Adam Smasher is the
Had
second
his
Adam Smasher because
yes,
Henry Winkler was the original one, which I love that too. But the timeline is so weird with DC because then you got the Suicide Squad
movie.
Task
Yeah.
Force X people in there as well. So
Hmm.
we're coming from a whole bunch of different angles
Yeah.
at this point that I don't know where it really lies.
Yeah.
And that room, the kids' room, you see it a million times. It's like the most obvious product placement you'll see in a
So
movie
much
where
product placement,
they keep fighting in that same room, in that
and
kid's
they
room.
all they had was a bunch of posters of the movies. And again, it's not the end of the world. It's a fucking movie, and it's just background stuff at this point.
Yeah.
But like, it's weird to me to have posters of movies in a bedroom in a movie when those movies were set in your universe.
Yeah.
Is that like Wonder Woman and Aquaman's posters and like I get it, like people would probably have posters of superheroes were a thing, but they were the movie posters. I think they just like superimposed the words out. But like there was very specific, like the one where Wonder Woman's like on like the standing, it's just like all black, but it was like the orange sunrise is kind of coming up.
Yeah.
Like that one was there, and I was like, I don't know. To me, it's just weird. It kind of takes me out of the moment
Yeah.
because then
And
it
they
starts
kept
asking so
showing
many
it too.
questions. Yeah,
Like,
and it just takes me out of the moment a little bit. Not enough to ruin the movie, but just a little bit. Um, so I mean, those are kind of what's wrong with this film. But like, other than that, like it's great. I want to see more of the JSA. The JSA was perfectly cast. A lot of freaking fun. Um, I wonder what they do with Doctor Fate in the future. We need to get more of him. Um, Questions are, why is there a JSA and a Justice League? But I think these are all actual questions that we're going to get answered in the Flash movie, whether we like it or not.
yeah, I just want to see how the JSA and the Justice League are going to come together because right now it seems like they don't know that each other exists, or like no one knows the JSA exists. Like maybe they're like a secret organization. I have no idea, but
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking because I feel like Amanda Waller would have reached out to the Justice League because she ended
yeah,
up using the Justice League in the end. She got soups, so like she used them. So I don't know. Maybe they're like a covert thing. I think I need to rewatch it because it wasn't their first conversation. Like I need you to do this for me or something like that. It almost seemed like they owed her one. I don't
yeah,
know. The whole thing's a little weird. Um, it just the DC has to find a way to explain its universe, And I think
yeah,
that's what's really wrong of DC is that it doesn't feel connected, and you never know when it is or when it isn't. And when you start to think it would be, it's not.
yeah.
Like you have the
They're
Joker that's very has a very dark theme, a very very realistic theme, and then you get the Batman, a very dark, a very realistic theme,
yeah,
and then you get the Joker too, and it's a musical, and then they're also just like, yeah, by the way, like that was the Joker. I mean, they've always said the Joker was its own separate universe, but like they keep saying that, and it's like, it's just, I
there's too
think for
many
the casual
universes.
fan, yeah, for the casual fan, you make it hard to understand.
See, because Marvel and like obviously I don't want to compare DC to Marvel, but it happens. I think Marvel's doing it smart where they're doing special presentations like what they did with Werewolf by Night,
Hmm.
where it's like, hey, this is part of the universe, but it's not really connected, but maybe it is. So that is the smart way to do it. This, you got to tie everything back and do a lot of retconning because this whole universe started with Man of Steel. And like Gerald said earlier, they in that movie made it seem like Superman was the first person of his kind to show up on Earth, uh, saving people and having powers. So
Hmm.
there's a lot to explain. I think the Flash obviously is a good way to do this because of Flashpoint, you can tie everything back together. And I think, like Gerald said, that's how it's going to happen.
Yeah. Um, but again, we need to talk a little bit more about Black Adam. Was there anything you thought didn't work, like your least favorite part of this movie, other than the villain?
I, I loved Hawkman and I loved Doctor Fate. I was not really a fan of Cyclone or Atom Smasher. I could have done without those two characters. I just thought it was kind of forced comic relief and like a little bit of forced romance, I think, too. I just think if you took him out of the movie, it would have just made things so much stronger.
I guess I can see how they could be considered characters that were unnecessary. Like they didn't change that much, but at the same time, I think seeing Atom Smasher on TV was freaking cool. And Cyclone's powers, even though I've never like I had no idea who she was, honestly.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at her stuff and then watching the movie, especially like beautiful powers, cool stuff. Made for some cool additions to the fight scenes, both of them.
Yeah.
So I'm more than fine with them. There was nothing to me that annoyed me with them, you know. Um, and if anything, Adam Smasher kind of reminded me of Peter Parker,
He did a
like
little bit. Yeah.
in the sense of like kid who's just like overwhelmed and trying to impress everybody and be an adult.
Yeah.
But just a little bit. Um, Other than that, though, I mean, I want to get your final ranking. I gave this movie an all star. What about you?
I think it's going to be a high starter. And
High star.
that's a big change for me because I was dead set on benching this movie even before I saw it. So the fact that I liked it is just a victory for DC, I guess, because I hated all the trailers. I was skeptical after some of the other DC stuff that I saw. it it's probably pretty high up there in the DC rankings. So I think the Suicide Squad is still their best movie. And if we're just talking extended universe, Man of Steel would be number 2. I think this would be 3 or 4, depending on what you want to put at 3. Probably Wonder Woman, but that's where it ranks for me. It is a step in the right direction, and I do want to see Black Adam return, especially fighting Shazam or Superman.
Yeah, and I was like, I love Shazam actually more than a lot of people did. I thought that movie was great, but I like this movie better than Shazam. Like right
Me
now, I
too.
like Black Adam better,
Me too.
and like for like the thing being with Shazam is just that there's too many Shazams now. His whole damn family got Shazam powers.
Yeah.
And not to sound like an old guy on Facebook, but like god dang, I can't keep up with it. Like I'm over here like I watched the trailer and I'm like, which one is Billy? Because I can't see him because I don't remember what his character looked like. It's been so dang long, so the actor's grown a lot. I don't know. And then like but Shazam was still fun, but this one I did like better. I like Black Adam better. I'm interested to see how they take him. Like, are they going to use him as a villain ever, or is he about to just be Deadpool,
He's probably going to be Deadpool. Like at the end, he
like just a
destroys the
good guy who kills
throne,
people?
and he's like,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna control these people or whatever."
yeah,
But he's brutal as hell. That's why I like him. He's dropping people off of roofs, like he's throwing people like 50 feet into the sky. I like this character.
yeah. He's a lot of fun.
I like him.
Well, Jeff, what else do we have working on this week? Nothing. Okay, good.
Probably nothing, but we got Black Panther coming up. We all
Oh,
got our
Black Panther is
tickets.
coming up.
That's
Yeah,
the
I'll got
big
our tickets
one.
for that one. Excited to see that one. Hearing great stuff for that movie. Um, Speaking of the MCU, we did get some MCU news today. I'm going to tack on to the end of this. Aubrey Plaza could be joining. Apparently, Aubrey Plaza is joining the Agatha Harkness show, and
That's
that's
perfect.
exciting as hell. Um, April Ludgate and
Andy Dwyer.
Andy Dwyer together again. We already have Jim from The Office. Now Kevin Feige, get a hold of Pam. You don't need to do anything serious. She doesn't need to be a hero. She could literally be a secretary again at a paper company in Scranton, Ohio, or Pennsylvania, wherever it was. She could be that.
Or you make her the Invisible Woman, and then you get
Or
the
yeah, I mean, I
Fantastic Four
guess
together,
I haven't seen her
and then
act in a while,
Dwight can be the
but yeah,
Thing. We can make it real weird, and we can just go all for it.
I guess.
Yes.
All right, well, let's go ahead and end this so people can get back to their daily lives, and then they can also hit subscribe on our YouTube. Follow us on your Spotify, your Apple products, anything like that, whatever the hell you watch your podcast at. And make sure to follow us on social media as well, where Jeff does an amazing job because all the rest of us are too lazy to do better.
Stop.
We love you, Jeff.
All right.
For Jeff, this is Gerald. This has been Box Office Quarterbacks. Have a great night.